Hello everybody. As you can see, I've already been working most of the day. It's in the 90s here, so it's pretty hot, but fortunately the sun has gone behind the clouds, so it's cooled off a little bit. But I went to my dad's. I got the his water heater out of his RV, and I've got it here. So here it is here. It's a little old, not pretty by far, but it's functional, and that's all I need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace these connectors because I really don't like the plastic ones. Plus the connectors in the van require these flared ends. So I got these nice copper ones at a plumbing supply here in town. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in. I have to put them in facing the other direction because that's the way the supply lines come in the van. So that's going to be the next thing I do. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to bypass the hoses that ran coolant. According to the research I've done, it's called heat exchange. It's called a heat exchanger. Supposedly the coolant would run along a pipe that was welded to the tank and heat the water while you're driving so that you don't have to use as much propane. A nicety, but not necessary. So I'm going to just bypass those lines for now, and then maybe someday I'll install a different kind of water heater with a heat exchanger. So there's one of the lines, as you can see. I don't know how good the light is, but I have them pinched off right now because the coolant was pouring out of them. So I'm basically just going to connect those two hoses together with this piece of hose down here and these plastic couplers. So that's my next project. Here we go. All right, I got the hose on. It was not easy. The other coolant lines were sort of a weird size. They weren't 1/2 inch, they weren't 3/4, but I had 3/4 size, so I kind of had to, force them on, but it fit. So here's the setup I've got now. Obviously, it's just going to bypass. Now the tank is supposed to sit on this plate, so I might end up having to, set them up like that somehow or something like that. I'll figure it out. Maybe the tank will fit with the hose down like this. But it's just temporary. Either way, it'll be fine. So next thing is to put in the water tank. Morning, everyone, or afternoon, I guess, whatever. Want to apologize first, letting you know that things have just been so crazy around here. I haven't really been able to record things that I've been doing for many reasons. I have to take several days off between projects on the Queen because I got a full-time job. I'm in school full-time, online anyway. Plus, I'm trying to install a new fence at my house. You've probably noticed all this fencing material sitting in the driveway, so that's been another project. Too many projects all at once, but I'll get it all done. So, that being said, I have some new camera equipment that I purchased, a nice selfie stick type thing that extends, and it has a tripod thingy on it that I can also detach and create a small little handle under the GoPro, which I think is real cool. It was real cheap too on Amazon, so I'm real pleased with it. So hopefully this will make filming a lot easier, and I'll be able to keep you more in tune with what I'm doing. Because sometimes there are projects that I've been doing on the thing that it's just recording them with basically nothing but the camera in my hand was basically impossible. So I haven't been able to record as much as I'd like. So hopefully that'll change now. So I'm going to work on the thing today, and because it's the nice day to do it, I got the day off, overcast skies, everything's good today, and I've got several projects planned. So first thing I'm going to do is install the new grill. The grill came today, and I'm gonna unbox it. Hopefully it's in good shape, and I'm gonna install it. I also bought a new temperature gauge. Oh no, that was the, excuse me. Nope, that's right, that was the temperature gauge. This is the oil gauge, new oil gauge. I don't know if these two are gonna make any difference to resolve the problems that I'm having, if there is even a problem. Well, I know that the oil gauge is not working at all. However, there is a new sending unit, so I know the sending unit's working. The mechanic tested the wiring. He said the wiring seems fine, but the gauge is still down at the bottom all the time. But the red light behind the gauge that comes on when there's a problem is working. I know that's working because it comes on briefly when you first start the engine. So I don't know if this is going to resolve that or not. I also have the, like I said, the temp gauge. The reason I want this is because the current temp gauge, when I'm operating temperature, it's like way up there. That's normal operating temperature according to the current gauge. I took the Queen down to the mechanic, and he plugged in his computer, and we took it for a drive, and he was able to monitor everything happening with the engine while we were driving. And we did everything from city driving to, you know, upwards of 60 miles an hour on the highway, and some stop and go. We sat and idled for a while. We had the air conditioning on, air conditioning off, you know, basically tested every situation we could. And he said that despite what the temp gauge was saying, the engine temperature was at a safe 204 degrees consistently. He said the engine's running perfectly. The fuel system, the exhaust gases, the engine temperature, the coolant temperature, he said everything is perfect. So I decided to not install that other radiator I was going to put in, just because it's expensive. So I'm sending it back. So everything seems fine. The cooling system is okay. The engine's at a safe temperature, but because the gauge, like I said, is right about there when I'm driving, that's pretty high up there, which doesn't leave a lot of room for increases in temperature. I'm hoping that it's supposed to be around there. I'm hoping that's the normal operating temperature. The stupid gauge doesn't have any numbers on it, so I really have no idea what the gauge is actually reading. I could wind up installing this gauge and it doesn't make any difference, but at least then I'll know. So I'm just hoping to have a little bit of extra room on the gauge to be able to notice the temperature rising, especially when I get down into the southern states. The other thing I'm going to do is re-caulk everything. Obviously I have to re-caulk the water tank I installed, the water heater I mean. And then the caulk around some of the windows and compartment doors is cracked and you know, shrunken, so I'm going to re-caulk all that. And then time being the restraining factor, I'll probably go get some propane and test out the new water heater, maybe test the furnace. I know the stove works, so. And then I'm going to talk to you about the toilet, because that was an interesting development that is a long story, but I'll try to break it down for you, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. First thing though is the new grill. Alright, so that thing is in my way. Looks like used to be a fog light and it got bent in, and now it's hitting the grill. It's probably what ruined the old one, so I gotta take it off. Alright, I went ahead and got it off, and while I was at it I went and took the other one off too. They left these stains, and obviously there's a hole in there, but oh well, I don't really care that much. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the grill on now. There, get that lined up, and right there. Okay, I think that's gonna work. There it is. My nice new grill. Very nice. Makes a big difference. But as you can see, it's still a little bit, you know, cloudy and not pretty, so I'm gonna see if I can clean it up. Well, I thought I had some steel wool in the garage to clean up the chrome, but apparently I don't. so I'll have to get some of that later. So I'm gonna just go ahead and move on to the gauges here. Boy, they sure put these screws in an inconvenient place. I need like a tiny little screwdriver is what I need. I don't think I have one that short. Oh shit. Okay. Jeez, could they have made this more inconvenient? Sure they could have, if they had just put some effort into it. Damn! Alright. This is where having the right tools comes in handy. I guess we'll know in a minute. There we go. That is not... Alright. Oh, I see. It just plugs in. Cool. So, yeah. This guy should just plug right in. Yep, just like that. Very simple. Okay. Take that off. And then take this guy off. I don't know why that makes me laugh. To get them replaced. So it's not going to kill me to do it. Oh, wrong one. Duh. This is the right one. So, new one, old one. Plug that right in. I like how it just plugs right in. That's pretty cool design. I thought there were going to be wires and stuff to contend with. But negative. Alright, I got it all back together. It was a lot easier to take it apart than it was to put it back together. In order to put it back together, I had to take this whole panel off, and then I had to take the visor off in order to get this loose enough to take this off so that I could wedge this back underneath. So it was quite a project, but ultimately probably pointless. I guess we'll see. Alright, next thing. So while we were taking it for a drive, you know, to test the cooling system, he wanted me to test the cruise as well. Well, the cruise didn't work for some reason, and I want cruise. Believe me, I want cruise. But he said that everything was working on the computer basis. All the electrical was working, the speed sensor, the thing that detects what you set the speed to be, etc. Everything was working. All the switches, everything was working. For some reason, it still wasn't working. Excuse me. So we went underneath the hood, and we had to kind of locate where the mechanism was. And these right here are, one is a vacuum hose and the other one is a throttle cable. They go up to the throttle, and that's what pulls on the throttle. And it comes down here. We had to follow this, and we found the servo way down in there. I don't know if you can even see it. If you can see the hose, it's way down in there. The only way to get it off, or to check it, was to take this off. I had to take this panel off, and then I had to take this light off. I had to take this light off in order to get the panel off. But what I found when I looked in here is that this is the servo right here. There's a little vacuum chamber, and when you turn on the cruise, it applies vacuum to this, which pulls that throttle cable, you know, whenever it needs to be pulled. Now, this is the vacuum hose right here. And what I found was this end is detached, which obviously, if this end is detached, there's not going to be any vacuum. This is the vacuum canister right here. That's what it's supposed to be attached to. So all I have to do to get the cruise to work is plug this back in. Boom. Just like that. Now the canister is back to vacuum. No more vacuum leak. hopefully problem solved. All right, hopefully you can hear me well enough, but I decided to go ahead and take her for a test drive, test the cruise control, see if where the coolant temperature goes, and while I'm out, stop and get some supplies from the hardware. I couldn't find my my caulk gun, so I'll probably have to get another one. And I also need some steel wool, so I'll go ahead and get those while I'm out. Alright, 50 miles an hour, cruise is set. Now cruise is turned on and set. And it's working! Woohoo! Working beautifully. Took over right away, cruising nice and solid, 50 miles an hour. Nice and straight. Oh, she rides great. Now that I got the brakes fixed and they're not dragging anymore, nice new tires, I could drive all day like this, which is sort of the plan. If I couldn't drive all day, it's kind of pointless. Yeah, all right, this is great. Let's see if the accelerator works. Oh yeah, like a champ. 55, boom, set it there, and it sets. Oh man, she cruises like nothing. Although the temperature gauge is still up in the same range as it was with the other one. I guess that's just the normal operating range. So I bought 2 gauges for no reason. Oh well, such is life. I'll just know where the normal operating temperature is and keep a close eye on it. Alright, so I got steel wool 000, which is extra fine. It says on the back, extra fine is for buffing and polishing, which is what I want. And I got some license plate screws as well, because there was no screws in there to put the license plate. I've got it sitting in the back window right now, which is probably illegal. And then I got a caulk gun, pretty cheap one, but the way it usually goes for me is I lose something, I buy a new one, and then I immediately find it. So, all right, I'm gonna actually go get gas, because gas is real cheap right now. I think I saw it right around $2 a gallon, so I'm gonna go get gas before it goes back up. All right, I'm gonna show you how the steel wool works. You can see there's just, you know, years of buildup. You just rub the steel wool on it. Look at that, mirror finish practically. And that's not even real chrome. Real chrome would probably be even better. But that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. Just go all around this thing and just polish it up, make it pretty. And silicone caulked everything as you saw. Obviously I only filmed the water tank part, but I went around, I caulked all the compartments and stuff. What I've decided to do now is hop back in here and go get propane, so that I can test the water heater, and then I want to get the toilet flushed out, cleaned up, and working properly. And I have to make a few stops for that. So, off I go. Well, I tried to get propane. Unfortunately, I'm missing something. Either I'm missing something or the propane guy didn't know what he was talking about. But the nozzle has to screw onto the propane tank so that they can fill it. The problem is the part that the nozzle screws onto, it comes down at an angle, and there's this metal plate underneath it, I'm guessing to protect it from road debris, and the nozzle hits that plate, and you can't get it on straight enough to thread it on to fill the propane. I don't know how they filled it before. It's not making any sense. I'm thinking I might have to take that plate off in order to get the propane tank filled up, which would leave the valve and everything unprotected, which I don't like the thought of that. I have to think about this. Maybe I can modify it somehow. Oh well, I'll come up with something. Alright, just came out of Walmart. Got a new sewer hose. Not an expensive one, but it'll work. And I also got a couple bottles of, if I can get it out of the bag, this stuff. Thetford Aqua Chem. This is a holding tank deodorizer, and it also breaks up the solids. You know what that means. And I'm going to tell you about my toilet, because I mentioned that earlier. It is not a regular RV toilet, which is something I did not realize going into this. This thing actually has no holding tank. The toilet is built over the rear suspension, and there's no place for a holding tank. The only tank it has, other than the freshwater tank, is the gray water tank. And so I couldn't figure out where does it all go, and you know, how does the toilet work, because it has a button, has a push button instead of you know, a lever like I've seen before. The toilets I've seen before, you pull a lever, it opens a valve, the waste goes down into the tank, and it uses some fresh water to flush it, which I actually prefer to what I have now, which is a fully self-contained unit. The toilet is its own tank. It has a 6-gallon capacity, and it actually uses the liquid in its own tank to flush itself, which means that every time you push the button to flush, you are recirculating the wastewater back through the toilet, which I find to be completely disgusting. When I figured that out, I almost put the thing up for sale. I swear to you, I almost put a for sale sign on this thing just because of that. I cannot deal with the smell of feces. I find it so horrible and so off-putting. I can't even change a diaper. So I'm very kind of upset about the realization of what I have to deal with here. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to make any modifications for it to have it suit me. I'm thinking that eventually I might be able to put a holding tank underneath somehow and modify the vehicle to have a real toilet and a real holding tank. There's room under there for it, but it's a lot of work. It's a big project, and I don't have the time. I've got less than 2 months before I take my trip, and I have to make this thing I really only have enough time to make the thing usable. Fix it up as best I can, fix all the little things that need to be fixed, and just do my best with it. So in the meantime, I'm going to have to live with the toilet the way it's designed and just only use it when I have to, really, which is a bit of a disappointment, but such is life. Sometimes shit happens in life and you just have to live with it. You got to figure out a solution and move on, which is what I'm doing. I'm just going to live with it. So the manufacturer says that after you empty the toilet tank, you have to fill it with, you have to pour 3 gallons of water in there as what they call a charge. Now, 3 gallons can't be right. That sounds like too much, especially if it only has a 6-gallon capacity. I gotta look up the amount again, but it also says that with that initial charge, you're supposed to put in this stuff. This it says on the box, on the back of it, recirculating toilets use 8 ounces for the initial charge. And this is 64 ounces. 8 ounces doesn't seem like that much. I'm thinking I might double that. I might put 16 ounces in each time. Just to really try to hold the smell down, because the smell is going to be the biggest thing, the biggest problem for me. And then once I get home from my trip, I'll figure something else out. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. I'm going to clean the toilet and get it back into operating condition. All right, I checked the instructions on the toilet and it did say 3 gallons of water. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I got this old measuring cup that I actually found in the van. So this thing said 8 ounces per 3 gallons for initial. It said 8 ounces for initial charge is what it says on the back of the thing. This cup holds 12, so I'm going to up it to 12. I said 16, but I'm just going to do 12. So we just pour this in here. Very concentrated stuff. So I guess 16 would have been overkill, but pour that in here. This bucket is 3 gallons, give or take. I don't know exactly, but take this water hose, clean this out. Alright, I don't know how well you can see that, but frankly, I don't know if you'll want to watch this. It's kind of nasty. Ugh. Oh, that's nasty. It stinks like crazy, too. But I'm going to just pour this in here. Kind of alarming that the toilet itself isn't filling up. Maybe that's supposed to be that way. Oh boy. Okay, see, it can't possibly be 3 gallons. Because right now it's saying the toilet's almost full. You can see it's got the full mark right there. The charge mark is that blue right there. It's only supposed to be filled to there. So obviously 3 gallons is wrong. But push this button. And it's supposed to recycle everything. Ooh, boy. Fumes are a little bit much. Oh boy, I hope you can see. I can't tell where the camera's pointed. Oh boy. Oh, hang on, I gotta make... Okay, so apparently the sewer hose I bought was even cheaper than I thought, since it didn't come with any attachments. That's just stupid. So, I've filled the toilet up to its limit and ran the water in the sink and the shower and everything. I wanted to get the gray water tank as full as I could reasonably. I scrubbed the whole bathroom. It's still a little bit dirty. I'm going to scrub it some more later, but I wanted to get most of it off. I figured you didn't want to watch that part. And I was going to go dump the tanks, but since my sewer hose is useless, I have to go get a fitting for it. I'm not gonna go today. It's getting late. It's pushing 9 o'clock now, and I'm tired and sweaty, and I'm kind of done for the day. So I'm just gonna upload what I have. Hopefully you enjoy it for what it's worth, and then tomorrow I'm going to continue what I started today and hopefully get more things done. All right. See you tomorrow.